Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Jenny Taft with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. How's everyone doing today?
Everyone is doing just great. And the more we watch The Last Dance, Skip, the more things come out. The more and more stuff starting to come out, aren't they, Skip Bayless?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I think, Shannon? I think I have become the modern-day Robin Hood. I rob from the rich, from Shannon Sharp, way up in his palatial estate up in Bel Air, and I give to the poor people who still believe LeBron is the GOAT.
He is. After The Last Dance, when it's all said and done, they're going like, yeah, he the GOAT. I can't deal with that attitude.
No doubt we will get there today. But you know what, guys? I would actually like to start with the Dallas Cowboys because the Cowboys seem to be pretty happy with the signing of backup quarterback Andy Dalton. Yesterday, Stephen Jones said that having Dalton on the roster helps him sleep better. Stephen used the Eagles' Super Bowl run with backup QB Nick Foles as an example of why Dalton being on the roster gives him peace. So, Shannon, could Andy Dalton do for Dallas what Nick Foles did for Philadelphia?
No, I don't believe he can. Andy Dalton is 0-4 in the playoffs with Cincinnati, 1 touchdown, 6 INTs, and never scored more than 13 points. He did miss a playoff start, Skip, with a thumb injury. The thing is that, Skip, you and I both know this. Nick Foles had that one great year. You remember, Skip, he went 27-2, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Outside of that, he's never strung together another year. Therefore, that's why I think he was either traded or released. Bounced around, went to Kansas City, went to the Rams, went to Kansas City, ended up going back to Philly. So he's never, ever been able to parlay that success, that Super Bowl run success, over a long period of time, other than that one great season that he had in which they went to the playoffs but ended up losing to the Saints. Skip, Nick Foles got hot at the right time. I don't know if people realize how close they came to actually losing. Atlanta had the ball 1st and goal with 2 minutes to go in the ball game, and they ended up losing that game 15-10. That's how close the story of Nick Foles came to not actually happening. Now, he did against Minnesota and the Patriots, Skip. They might have been the 2 greatest playoff games that we've seen combined back-to-back in a very long time. Now, I don't want to go all the way back to when they started playing football and they didn't have a Super Bowl, they had a championship game. That's a whole different ball game. But in the modern era, we say the Super Bowl era, Skip, those might have been the 2 best games back-to-back that we've seen in the playoffs. So he got hot at the right time. What gives Stephen Jones great peace of mind, Skip, is if this thing lingers on with Dak Prescott, we do have a veteran quarterback that's taken a team to the playoffs, that's been a starter for a number of years. Skip, if this thing were to linger on, you don't want Cooper Rush. You don't want that pressure on Cooper Rush. And another thing that helped Nick Foles, Skip, when you're the backup and you're going into the playoffs, Skip, there's no pressure because more times than not, they expect you to lose. There's no pressure like there is on the starter. There would have been an immense amount of pressure. And you mentioned this. There would have been an immense amount of pressure with the season that Walker to him was having, him going into the playoffs as opposed to him going down and then Nick Foles coming in. Because if you lose with a backup, 85-90% of the people expect you to lose because he is a backup. The greatest thing to give Stephen Jones peace of mind, he gets to rest well at night, knowing if this thing lingers on with Dak and it goes late into training camp or Dak decides to miss a game or 2, we do have a guy that's been a starter in this league. That gives us great peace of mind.
Okay, I agree with some of the points you made, but I'm going to go much farther. The first thing I would like to say is I do not like Stephen Jones invoking the name of Nick Foles when it comes to Andy Dalton. For 2 reasons, I think that's a bad comparison. Reason number 1, Andy Dalton can't be Nick Foles because, as you pointed out, there's never been another Nick Foles. Nick Foles did things in the postseason we have never, ever seen done in the history of professional football in America. There's a one and an only Nick Foles. Shannon, what he did is impossibly great. I still don't understand it because nothing he had done in regular seasons, even though he had the good touchdown interception total, but nothing he had done to that moment predicted what was about to happen. Because when your guy, Wakatum Wentz, tore his knee up, remember it was out here in Los Angeles at the Coliseum late in the 2017 season against a Rams team that was one of the top 3 or 4 teams in football at that point?
Yep.
And what did Nick Foles do? Foles came in and saved the day and the game, and I don't know, you could argue the season. Remember, there was a late 3rd and 8 when the game was teetering. They were still up by 3 with a couple of minutes left. And he hit Aguilar on a 3rd and 8 for a 10 or 12-yard gain. And it iced the game because they were able to kill much of the clock. It was a big-time clutch throw that under the circumstance, you couldn't have really counted on the backup to be able to jump into the game and pull off. And from there, you know the rest of the story. He struggled. Everybody struggled during that game against Atlanta. But he made enough plays down the stretch to win the game. And then, as you brought up, I don't know if I've ever seen a better playoff performance, certainly in a championship game, than Nick Foles versus the Minnesota Miracle Vikings. He torched Zimmer's defense, and it was pretty good. It was a top 10 defense. And he had a QBR of 96 in that game, and it was like a Joe Burrow performance against Oklahoma or Clemson where you just said, well, he just didn't miss a throw in that game. And then, unfortunately, I know the rest of the story. He goes to the Super Bowl. He might have missed a couple of throws in the Super Bowl, but he outgunned Tom Brady and won Super Bowl MVP 41-33. He put up 41 points on Belichick's defense. Now, don't get me started on why Malcolm Butler wasn't allowed to play in the game. I don't know, but that's for another moment, another day. All I know is Nick Foles was the MVP of that game. Nick Foles was going to Disney World. Nick Foles then took that performance into the next year when Carson Wentz again got hurt. And down the stretch of 2018, help me out, Shannon, what were they doing in the locker room in Philadelphia? What did Chris Long and some of the veteran players do? They built a shrine to Nick Foles, a shrine to the backup quarterback, Nick Foles. What did I start calling him here on Undisputed? He's the Magic Man. He was the Magic Man. I've never seen such weird intangibles in a quarterback, and he's not a vocal, charismatic leader type. It's just that his intangibles are the bigger the moment, the better he plays. I don't know. I've never seen that happen before. And what did he do? He goes to Chicago against the top 5 defense at that point, 2018, and he beats them. It took the crossbar field goal. A
double doink field goal missed.
Yeah, double doink, yeah. But he beat him, and he played very well in that game. And then what did he do? He goes to New Orleans, Nick Foles does, and he outplayed Drew Brees and had them on the run and on the ropes, and he hits Alshon right in the chest with the ball on what looked like the last-ditch, maybe game-winning drive, and Alshon muffs it up into an interception that ended the game. But Nick Foles looked like he was going to pull off a Nick Foles again, okay? I've never seen anything like that because his regular season never predicted any of that. And to your point, he went to St. Louis and was 4-7 as a starter. And obviously, he winds up going to Jacksonville last year before he got hurt. He was 0-4 as a starter. And overall in his career, he's 26-22 as a starting quarterback in the regular season. Okay, so now let me briefly address my new quote-unquote backup quarterback, Andy Dalton. Shannon, I got to tell you, I owe him an apology. I've said a lot of sarcastic things about Andy Dalton, who had become a punchline of NFL quarterbacks because he's been so bad in the postseason. To your point, he got hurt for the one game, but he's played 4 playoff games, and he's been pretty terrible in all 4 of them. And they got beaten pretty badly in all 4 of them. Yet, if you look harder at his regular season, the guy that got stereotyped as a loser, sort of a lovable loser, if you will, a good guy, but a loser, that guy has been extraordinary. The first 5 years in Cincinnati, that guy averaged 10 wins a year, and that guy made 3 Pro Bowls. And that guy, if you average all of his stats up for his 9 years in pro football since he entered the league, his stats are top 10 across the board. Yards, completions, touchdown passes, they all rank in the top 10 of that 9-year stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not a loser. That's not a bum.
Right.
That's not a punchline. That's really good. So in the end, I'm very happy to have Andy Dalton as my regular season, quote unquote, backup. He might be my regular season starter if Dak decides to hold out. So I'm ecstatic to have him because I'll take the regular season right now over the postseason. Do I think Andy Dalton could win 10 games and get the Cowboys to the postseason? Yeah, I do believe if forced into action, he could do that. Stephen Jones believes that. Well, then we'd let the chips fall in the postseason and we'd see what happened. Maybe he could right the wrong of his 0-4 postseason record.
Skip, the thing is with me, I can make a very compelling case that Andy Dalton has been a better quarterback in the regular season than Nick Foles. And I can make that over a long period of time. It's not like we have a very small sample size. We're looking at a guy that's been a starter since he set foot into the NFL. As you mentioned, he did win 50 games in his first 5 years. He did go to 3 Pro Bowls. Outside of that one great season, which was, I think, the second because Brady ended up having a 28-2. That's the